Hey, I'm Gregg Bossen. I'm a CPA and I specialize in nonprofit organizations around the country. I also own QuickBooks Made Easy for nonprofits. So basically, I'm all about helping nonprofits out. And I wanted to talk to you for a second about grants. Now, obviously, you know it's important and helpful to get grants for your nonprofit organization. And right now, January, February, and March, these are the biggest months for going grant shopping. So if you haven't already done so, I would encourage you to shop for grants. And there's actually a place you can go to called Grant Station. That's not me, it's a separate entity, but I really like them a lot. I do a lot of teaching for them, and you can sign up and look for grants through Grant Station. It's a great place to go grant shopping. But the main thing that I wanted to do, because again, I'm all about helping nonprofits, and I wanted to talk to you not so much about getting the grants, but I wanted to talk to you about managing them and, in particular, tracking them. And, some grants are unrestricted, so you can spend it however you want. But many grants come with restrictions. And I wanted to talk to you just for a second about what it means when a grant is restricted, why it's important to track them, what I mean by tracking them, and then I'll give you a little bit of a tip about how to do it. All right. So, first of all, I'm going to go into a little PowerPoint slide here, and I passed where I wanted to go. There we go. What is a restricted grant? So, a restricted grant is a grant that has some sort of strings attached. Now, there's kind of two categories of strings. One of them is called a use restriction. This means that they're giving you the money, but you have to spend it in some particular fashion or some particular way. Now, this restriction could be very general, like spend it on the education program. Or it could be very specific, like spend it on the education program. We will pay $10,000 of that person's salary and we'll pay 40% of the rent. It could be very, very specific. All right. So those are called use restrictions because they're restricted in terms of how you can spend it. Now, if you get a grant, sometimes you'll get a grant and it'll say spend it for, and then what it says is the mission of your organization, spend it on helping children or something. That's too general. I'm talking, it has to be a little bit more specific. Spend it on this program or spend it for this particular purpose or spend it on these line items. Then it's use restricted. Okay. Now, there is another restriction called a time restriction. And some grants have both use and time. Some only have one or the other. Okay. A time restriction means we're giving you this money, but you can't spend it until next year, or you are supposed to spend it between July 1 of 23 to June 30 of 24, something like that. Then it is time restricted. So whether it's use restricted, time restricted, or both, if it's restricted, you need to track it. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, you need to track how you spent the money. And why? Because many of these grantors are asking for reports in the interim, in the middle, or maybe at the end of how you spent those dollars. Now, do you want to spend days trying to figure out how you spent the dollars after the fact? I don't think so. Okay. So instead, what you want to do is you want to track things as you go. Now, you may not be the accounting person, but whoever it is that's doing the accounting, they really need to be pointing transactions to grants. So I'm going to give you just a little bit of a hint in terms of how to track grants, all right, that are restricted. Just a couple of tips, I guess. One of them is do it in your accounting package. Don't do it in Excel. If it's in Excel, I don't know that those numbers are right. Hopefully your accounting package is right, and so you want to do it there. All right. Now, I know you may not be the one dealing with your accounting package, and it could be QuickBooks, it could be Xero, it could be MYOB, it could be any number of accounting packages. But regardless, do it there. Okay. Now, the way to do it is to set up each grant as a customer in your accounting package. Okay. And again, QuickBooks has it. Xero has it. Most of them have a list where you put your customers. They may be called donors or clients, but there's a list where you put people that give you your money and put it there. The other thing is if you get a grant from a funder every single year, Each grant is a separate name in that customer list. All right. And the reason why is because we have to track each grant separately. Now, I'm just going to go into QuickBooks real quick and show you that I've done this. And you may not have QuickBooks, but it's pretty much the same in all software packages. You'll see here I have this funder, the RAC Foundation, and I have two grants. I have one for 2023-24, and I have one for 2024-25. So it's important that you track them separately. And again, the reason why is, first of all, when you enter transactions, actually I'll just go over here, you can pick which grant this particular expense is being paid out of. Okay, because see, sometimes the very last transaction in the 23-24 grant was actually paid on the first day of 24-25. And so this way you can control that. Okay, and the other benefit about this is if you are pointing expenses to grants, and just put this up there, point your expenses to grants as you enter them. Okay, then you'll be able to get reports showing you how the dollars were spent. Here's a report that I got. I got this out of QuickBooks, but it just gives me how much I got in and how much I spent. This isn't the whole organization. This is just money that was pointed to this particular grant. So I can see that I've got, looks like 24,000 left to spend. Now, if you get a real crazy grant that has a budget and you have to like make sure that you don't overspend in certain line items. A lot of federal grants are like this. You can enter your budget in that other accounting package, okay? And then you'll be able to get a report that looks like this, where you have the actuals and the budget for a grant. So you can really see how you're doing. So for the space rental here, our budget was 15 and we've only spent 10. We have 5 left to spend, okay? So I think that's really, really cool. So the other thing that I wanted to say, and this is just a pet peeve of mine, save your grants. When you get the grant, the signed grant, a lot of times it'll be emailed to you these days. Please save it. I like to save it in a folder called grants on my computer. And then if your accounting package will allow you, this one does actually, QuickBooks does. I'll go ahead and edit this grant. There's actually a place called attachments here. You can literally attach the grant right in QuickBooks, okay? Well, there's an error uploading the file. We'll try it one more time. But the beautiful thing about this is when I come, I'm an auditor. If I come and audit your books, then I will be able, I don't know why it's giving me an issue here, probably because I'm trying to record something. But then I will be able to see your grant. So you can attach it there. Obviously, it did not work. That's quite obnoxious. But anyway, the last thing I wanted to point out, and this is the most important of all, to be honest with you, is that make sure that you set a calendar reminder for when reports are due. Okay, so put it in your calendar, give it to the bookkeeper, give it to the executive director, give it to the treasurer. Make sure that more than one person knows when reports are due. The reason why I say this is because I can't tell you how many times I've had clients where only one person knew when a report was due. They left, nobody else knew, they missed a deadline, and then they couldn't get funding the next year. And you don't want that to happen. So hopefully you found this helpful. If you want any more information about me, go to QuickBooks Made Easy for Nonprofits, and catch you later.